never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day, beautiful people. How the heavens are you? I hope you've had a lovely weekend. Did you party? Did you go out and do wild things on Mother's Day? I know some of you are mothers and some of you do like to party, so seems fair you'd put the two together. If that is the case, I hope you had a fabulous time. I went and saw my mum and I dug holes in her garden. Well, when I say holes, it was only 2 holes, but one of them was about 40 foot long and, well, deep enough for her to plant some beautiful little yellow flowers in. Yes, she would do the planting. I have a black thumb and my handling of anything green would not be tolerated because it's not likely to survive long once put in the ground. But we did have a lovely afternoon. So great to catch up. Sunflower, first in the building tonight. In the building, what am I talking about? Well, you know what I'm talking about. Lovely to have you, darling. I hope you and Rick are well and that your Mother's Day in particular went well. You are mum to a couple. Well, there's grandbaby. I don't know grandbabies, so you're a grandmom. And, well, like every wife, you're basically a mother to your husband, I guess. So nothing strange there. I hope you have a bloody great one. Hello, Ali. Yes, we do have a show. I know, can be a bit hit and miss on Mondays, but there you go. I figured after what happened with One Nation on Saturday, we'd better have a bit of a chat. Well, there's no real point in talking much further about it. And I've got some things I'm not sure if others have already said. I'd be surprised if they haven't because they do tend to get out of these things a little more ahead of me, although they're being paid a lot more to be out there. Hello, Gomez. Hope you're doing all right. And Life the Universe kicks along. The lovely Lady Ryder is in the house. And who else do we have popping in? Harm, haven't seen you in for a while, buddy. I hope you're well. Send me a text. Let me know. I think you're south at the moment, aren't you? So I think I've got half an idea of where you're at. Tony. Now, I hope you've pulled over. I rang Tony a little while ago, and he was a little way from home by then. He's on his way back after our cruise last week, and he turned up here Saturday to help me out with a few issues with the bus. Those issues being headlights and a set of steps that aren't working. And unfortunately was unable to help me with the steps, although we did figure out where the problem lies, and that's nothing either of us can fix. And there is a headlight fix on the way. So Life, the Universe and everything went pretty well. He jumped in the car and headed south and hopes to be home tonight. So I'm hopeful, mate, you've just pulled over for a little while. Oh, you're driving. Oh, yes, well... Hands texting free. I don't know how that goes, but lovely to have you in. Just be bloody safe. You're on the Hume Highway this time of night. Kangaroos, trucks, all sorts of wonderful things. Be good, mate. And hello, the lovely Debs. Hope you are well. Been a while since I've... Oh, no, actually, I do remember seeing you. It's me who's been a while since looking at the chat, I'll be honest. The wonderful What That, who is as full as a tick, I can tell you. He's gone to 2-for-1 steak night at the club. Yeah, he's out of hospital. Thank you, everyone. Oh, yes, did we mention that on Friday night? I think we did. He got out of hospital Friday night. He's going to have his dressings changed tomorrow, which will be a good thing. But tonight he has proteined up. I think he's trying to eat enough cow to grow 2 more toes, just between you, me, and the gatepost. But good luck to him, should that be the case. However, good luck to you, brother. And thanks for, well, just being you, because you're a bloody decent bloke. And shit happens to bloody decent people, unfortunately. You're not the only one, but you happen to be the most affected in the family currently. So I know all our thoughts and prayers are with your speedy recovery, and I know no more positive bloke out there at the moment. So it's great to have you part of what we're doing. Daniel, nice to have you in the house. Oh, look at that. Your favorite group of men and women. And part of the reason for that, Daniel, I know, is because all of us identify as one or the other. There are very few of us, I don't think, if any, that would identify as halfway in between or unsure completely. But that is just another story that we can theorize on another evening and let YouTube ban me on that for a different day. Hello, Gail. Gail, I hope you're well. The lovely Anne, who's not here, but we are waving at you tomorrow morning when you're going to watch the show. So I hope you had a nice night, wherever the hell you're doing. G'day, Addie. Margot's in the house. Jude's in the house. Nice to have you back in town. Hello, Jenny. Scotty, good to have you in. The wonderful Paul, who is a gentleman and a scholar, sends some lovely messages when he does his little logs in. And g'day, John. Hope you are well. Going to skip down a little. Andrew's in the house. You've been very emotional for a few days. Jude. Ah, no. I am so sorry for your loss. I've cried more for dogs that, not even my dogs. I've cried more for dogs that have been lost in the last few years than I have for people. And that is because, like you, I guess, you understand there is an extraordinary bond that dog lovers particularly have, but I'm sure cat lovers have it too. I don't mind cats, but for whatever reason, the bond with a dog is just different, stronger. And when you have to make those sorts of decisions, it is terribly, terribly difficult, even though you know it's the right decision to make. So I feel for you, Jude. So love and light to you and yours. And it will get better. It always does. Silver Fox, nice to have you in the house as well. Scrolling down, I think I've seen all the names that I'm going to see. I'm not reading here, folks. I'm just sort of looking for different names. Giselle, lovely to see you in the house, like those that pop up. And I can say hello to. And user for and a number. G'day you. Hope you're doing all right. Don't know how you get in as a user, but be polite, be nice. And our moderators who are in there working their bits off tonight as usual will accommodate you. But if you're getting silly or strange, then they have a very polite way of letting you know. Dog souls are beautiful, Daniel. You're 100% right. They are the most pure souls, I think. Their love is continuous, unambiguous, and abundant. They live for their owners. And I see it here every day. The fellow who I'm lucky enough to have a little bit of land to prop on at the moment has two, recently three, but sadly lost one. Two dogs here. Now, they love me, I think mainly because I usually have a treat for them, but it's every morning it's hello. Bark, 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 bark. Hello, lovely to see you. Great, you're excited. I'm excited. We're all excited. It's a beautiful new day. Look at all these new smells. And that's the part of the day I really love, seeing the dogs for the first time, because they approach every day and every interaction with a human, these two in particular, with great joy, and they share that. And I know you feel that with every dog you interact with. So wonderful, wonderful beasts they are. Wonderful, wonderful animals. G'day, Robert. Nice to have you in too. And Fuzzy, you cry for the loss of most dogs. Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's very difficult when you do lose them. They are very, very, very hard to lose. G'day, Donna. Lovely to see you. And the Synchronicity Show is in the house. Nice to have you all in. Beautiful. Hope you had a great weekend. Life, the universe, and everything is going to progress onward and upward for us all. And I mean, seriously, for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, there is so much coming true, so much coming out, so much being released. We'll only touch on a very little bit of it tonight, and we'll start I guess, with the big news for One Nation. Now, here's the look on Angus Taylor's face when he realised that the Liberal Party was not going to reach, well, quite possibly double figures in a primary vote sense. They did eventually reach 11%. This is what it looks like when you hear that's as good as it's going to get, Angus. Not flash. Yep, One Nation cleaned up, and boy, did they clean up. Now, I know Vince is happy. We spoke yesterday, and he picked it. You'll remember Friday night. I don't think he picked the margin quite as broadly, but he was very, 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 very close. And I think he's going to be a pundit. We need him. He picked the South Australian election, of which he told me that Corey Bernardi and others have only just been admitted to after 5.5 weeks or something. That's how slack the Electoral Commission is. And apparently they're being investigated by who? By the Electoral Commission. There'll be more to come out on that, I am sure. But One Nation in the race to a seat in Victoria the weekend before last didn't quite go as planned. That was held by, I think, the Liberal, but One Nation's result down there was not really reflective of the support that they appear to have throughout the rest of the state. Well, if the battle for the border region is anything to go by, then there is a very large amount of support for One Nation. I'm unsure of the exact final figures, but One Nation candidate picked up 44, I think wound up down at about 41% of first preference votes. The Nationals and the Liberal Party couldn't raise 20% between them nearly. They did wind up getting just over 20%, but that's in total. Just over 20% of a combined coalition vote, let's call it. I think the Libs had 11 point something and the Nats had 9 point something. So a absolute shocking result for a seat that is so important to the Liberal Party. Why? Because the Liberal Party started there. That's the first seat they ever won. That's the longest seat they've ever held, 77 years. And they had their nuts handed to them in a sack. Not their own. They were taken out, fried, just like the sheep farmers do with the old delicacies. Sorry, you may not know about those old delicacies. And then you hand them around. Well, the bloke who won certainly knows about farming. He certainly knows the district, and there was a lot of excitement in One Nation ranks. Pauline had a phenomenal night, and I'm not saying she hit the bottle in any way, shape or form. In fact, she looked very healthy the next day doing the interviews. But there are a lot of hugs, a lot of dancing long into the night, and a lot of plans going forward. This is a very important win for One Nation and for that nation, for we the people, for those that want to vote a different way. And for so many years, in fact, for the first time in my lifetime, you could consider One Nation a vote for them will make a difference this time round. Now, Victoria's state election will be a good tester for that, and that's November. There's a long time between now and November, but I get the feeling that the regional areas of Victoria are going to support One Nation in a very, very strong manner. And I think there will be large sections of metropolitan seats, or those at least that are a little closer to Melbourne, that will also support One Nation. And then there, of course, will be the Liberals who are quite disenchanted, the Nationals who are quite disenchanted, and will be looking around to punish their parties to say, well, hey, you have had the opportunity. You have been in opposition now for, what is it, 14 years in Victoria? You haven't been able to put up a credible opposition. I couldn't tell you the name of any of the Victorian opposition leaders. I'm struggling to stretch it for the female in charge now. They get no airtime outside of Victoria. They don't need it because the vote is in Victoria. So, sort of understand that in a bit. But we're seeing the headlines about the $200 billion of debt that Victoria is headed for. And it's not people like you and I that are going to pay that debt. It's your children. It's your grandchildren, and quite probably their grandchildren, who will be encumbered with this debt for the rest of their lives. Once again, we are being shown this. Do we want that form of existence for our family line going forward? This is a great example of the mismanagement of government on so many levels. The same government that bought, I don't know how many million or billion dollars worth of trains, new trains for their new railway system that they've built, and nobody thought to measure how wide the tunnels were versus how wide the carriages for the trains were, and they don't fit. They didn't build the tunnels wide enough. This is the level of Labor incompetence that has been entrenched into Victoria for the last, decade and a half. And now there is severe, supreme, undeniable, alleged evidence, better cover myself, of fraud and corruption to the tune of a minimum of $15 billion. The CFMEU features prominently in the questions that are being asked about that. And now the incumbent Labor government, with that piece of swill female Allen that's running the joint, are not even hiding the fact that they are not going to allow any kind of serious investigation of any of that. And you've got to hope that if and when the Liberal and or One Nation parties form a coalition, or maybe One Nation is strong enough to sweep to power in Victoria, my God, what would that be like? I don't know what would happen with Darren Bergworth. I better ring him and ask. If enough people voted for Pauline in Victoria, there could be a conniption. Why would there be a conniption? Well, even though it was a very, very exciting night, a very, very exciting night. In fact, an historic night for Australian politics all around the nation. I'm pretty sure that the bloke they elected would have had something prepared, one way or the other. Oh, yes, this has been a great night for us. We lost. Or this has been a wonderful night for us. We won. I wouldn't necessarily, if I were a betting man, and trust me, after the cruise last week, I am definitely not a betting man, I wouldn't have bet anything on this statement being the first thing out of his mouth.
What are we doing tonight? We're like a mason with a chisel and a hammer, and we're recarving the letters into the Australian democracy.
Ah, the memories. Sorry, coughed. So, remember what I've said, folks. The wave of change is a tsunami. There is no point throwing yourself against the tsunami, but there is a great deal of interest in riding that tsunami as far as you can and then seeing what happens when it pulls back. What does it leave? What does it expose? More particularly, because while tsunami is very damaging on the way in, it's what it exposes when it sucks all the shit back out that I find the most interesting. And That's just a very interesting statement to make as your first public statement, I would have thought. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading more into this than I would. But anyway, it's just how I feel about it. So One Nation have a lot of things to consider, and let's assume now that they actively need to plan for what will be a very, very likely significant opportunity to become, if not a coalition partner, then potentially even a leading partner in anything going forward for the next election that involves the conservative side of politics. Now, that might include the Liberal National Party. It might include the Liberal Democrats. It might include all manner of minor parties. It might include Clive coming into the fold. It might include Jared Rennick coming into the fold. And I am hearing talk that there is already National Party members and Liberal Party members who are considering, like rats off a sinking ship, deserting their parties and throwing themselves up for One Nation membership as an incumbent, like before the next election. That's how bad the rats believe the ships are sinking. Get off them fast. I think one of them from Western Australia and one from New South Wales were both in print in various ways and places over the weekend, saying, "Oh well, you gotta read the tea leaves." Well, that to me is reading the tea leaves to save your job, the job you don't deserve because of the shit job you've done of it in the cacistocracy you've been part of for God knows how many years. There's a lot of these backbenchers just tend to get the job and hold their hand up when they're meant to and take the little brown paper bag, the committee job, the little bonus, and move on. It's got to stop. We've had enough of it. Absolutely friggin' has to stop. And this, I think, is it's being exposed. Even those numbnuts who haven't been able to see what we have seen over the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 30 years for some, they're starting to wake up. I got asked a lot of questions. I didn't get put down by too many people on the cruise when they asked what I did. I said, "Do you really want to ask?" I said to one fellow while we were standing out on the smoker's deck one night, he said, "So what do you do?" I said, "Oh, I talk about things that make people uncomfortable." And he said, "Oh, yeah, what's that mean?" I said, "Well, we could talk about the moon, or we could talk about the flat earth, or we could talk about the jab, or we could talk..." And he said, "Oh, stop there. Let's go back to the moon. Have you seen that movie Moonfall?" The conversation went from there. Out came the Nikon P1000 camera, which I've discussed in other podcasts since, is not the camera you want to take onto the ship to test where the horizon is. It's the camera you want to leave on the land and watch the ship supposedly go over the curvature. Yeah, that's very difficult to work it off the ship when you've got a lens that's, rather embarrassing. But beautiful camera all the same. And expect more moon pics when they are appropriate. I was only thinking the other day, I haven't done any moon pics in a long time. So we'll go back and see if anything's changed. Speaking of changes, I keep saying if you've got eyes to see and ears to hear, and particularly hear in this case, there is all sorts of changes that are happening to the woke around us, those woke influences that have for so long led our children astray and the dim-witted adults amongst us, if I'm honest. And Abby Chatfield would be one of them. Her boyfriend has been denied entry into the US after she called for people to hang on, I need to get that off to show you. The president. Apparently that's the thing. You've got to do that. So she was suggesting that more people should, the president, while her boyfriend, I don't know, has he declared that he's a boy? I'm not sure. He's her them friend or they friend. I don't know what the hell you call it. But anyway, it had gone to Canada and managed to get in there quite happily because, of course, you couldn't get too much more woke outside of Australia than Canada, but you got it. Anyway, managed to get in there, but US and Canadian Border Force stopped him and his entire entourage, which didn't include Abby Chatfield. Small mercies. So this was a few days back. He's got on a plane and is since back in Australia, preparing for his Australian tour, where no doubt he will wander around the country whining about, the indignity of not being allowed into America. Sorry, did I show that bloke again? Looks like you've got something jammed up your jacksie and it's not going terribly well, but there you go. Well, let's hope that if he's going to do a tour around Australia, he takes his electric vehicle, because you and me and everybody else is about to start funding electric vehicles. Their climate zealotry has been exposed in their extremely unfair electric vehicle charging station payment that is going to be hitting all households. Now, we will wait with bated breath what will come out in tomorrow night's budget. But I have nobody in the lock-in. Cass, I'm not sure whether or not Cass is even accepting internet where she is at the moment, but I'll leave a message. She's certainly our budget freak in the family and loves all these sorts of things, and I know she will be interested and will want to come on and explain whatever differences that the government is planning on making to trusts. There's rumours they're going to eradicate things like negative gearing, and this is going to have probably exactly the opposite effect as to what the government says it's going to have. And that's exactly in line with the satanic bunch of bastards who are sitting in Canberra, supposedly running the place. Inverting the truth. So bear in mind that that's anything they say, turn it upside down. It's not the truth. Absolutely the opposite is true. So this is going to be, if they get rid of negative gearing, it's going to be horrendous, not for the people who own the houses. It's going to be horrendous for the people who rent the houses, because negative gearing is one of the few ways that, really the only way, that mum and dad investors can buy a second home, an investment property, and have any hope of ever paying it off, being able to afford it. Because if they had to pay for all the costs up front out of their wage that they're funding their main mortgage out of, they'd be gone. At the moment, they get to claim everything, if you like, run it as a loss until such time as they pay it all out. Or it works as a loss until such time as they sell it and take some kind of capital gain out of it, which is also about to be struck in some form. So I'm not going to talk about it because I've never owned a house. So to me, you would be better placed speaking with somebody or talking to somebody or listening to somebody with much more experience. And I'll try and get Cass on later this week to discuss that and find out what you can and cannot do going forward, because there obviously is going to be some changes, and you may find that there are things you can do to protect yourself going forward. Although this Labor government have made so many promises not to do this, not to attack things like negative gearing, superannuation. There is a pile of taxes that they tried to put through when Bill Shorten was leader, and the Australian people rejected them quite flatly. That whole lot has just been repackaged and handed up to us this time round, and they're going to put them through whether you like it or not, because they had a mandate of 34 point whatever the pizzly little amount it was of the nation. Wow. These people are soul bent on destroying this nation, and I say soul bent for a reason. They're determined to try and take yours as well. So now every family is going to be charged a fee. Every taxpayer will be charged a fee. Every homeowner will be charged a fee that will go towards the EV grid, trying to make it useful. And that'll probably take 40 years to put together. I mean, this is just such abject stupidity. And once again, I believe evidence to the eternally stupid that all is not right with their world. They need to start listening to more of their conspiracy theory friends, because they've been saying for years the Epstein files are not just the Epstein files. The Epstein files contain names of Australians. In fact, there might be evidence of 28 particular Australians in those Epstein files. Nobody believed us. But now, mainstream media is starting to report Australia's human trafficking crisis laid bare as expert warn of local Epstein-like networks. There's a reason they are Epstein-like, because they're run the same way. There weren't competing slavery, child trafficking networks. And if they were, then those competitions were quickly sorted out. There was only one place to go if you wanted your adrenochrome. There was only one place to go if you wanted your consumable children. Thankfully, there's a belief that a lot of that is drying up as well. But in Australia, evidence is coming out that we have slavery, and it's not some black girl who's been brought over here from Africa and is sitting in some Indian slumlord's backyard doing his bidding. No, it's an Australian, a girl who came from the country, came to the city and got down on her luck, took a job she thought she was going to be able to do, and that job turned into a whole heap of different things once they suckered you in. And she became a sex slave, unable to get out for a variety of reasons. Tells a truly moving, horrifying story. But it's not necessarily her story that I draw your attention to. It's the fact that it is being told in mainstream media. Even Ben Fordham is talking about things that 2 years ago he would never have spoken about. I know, because he spoke to me about them off the air and has never rung me again since. I hold hope that Ben Fordham, although there's history, I hope that Ben Fordham eventually gets around to the big sticking point of why the Governor-General signs the election writs as a witness. I'd like him to explain that to the Australian people and how that relates to our Constitution. But I'm not sure Ben is able to explain that, which is sadder than it looks. Speaking of looks, do you know what a looks maxer is? That is a looks maxer. Now, this little turd has been hit with 15 or 16 charges related to child pornography because when asked why he downloaded to his phone, he wanted to try something new. So he's been charged. He's got Australian mates. Do you know how they get that chiseled look? They hit themselves in the face with a hammer. I shit you not. That one in particularly tells you where the soft bony parts are that you can powder and shape and do whatever. I mean, all power to him. I'm just looking for something like a hammer I can use here and see if it'll work. But give me better ribs. But when you hit yourself in the hammer a fair bit, maybe the idea of downloading child pornography to your phone when you're 18 is not to be sneezed at. I mean, it's not. unexpected is what I'm thinking. Mental health being what it is, because if you're going to smack yourself in the face with a hammer, even if it has what appears to be quite startling results, I'm not sure. It's also starvation. I beg your pardon. There is hitting yourself in the face with a hammer and starving yourself as well. I beg your pardon. I should have understood that. Anyway, if you find yourself with a child of about that age hiding a hammer in the bedroom at night, I'd quietly take that out. In fact, any heavy implement with a flat side to it, I'd probably cut that out and put it in a safe place and get them to a hospital as soon as you can, be my advice. Just between you, me, and the gatepost. Not saying anything bad. I'm going to say something bad now. Hanta Virus. So here comes the next plandemic, folks, and there is no doubt about it. This one will kill you, although exactly how it managed to get to where it is at the moment, which is at Tenerife on a boat, is still eluding the authorities. But even though nobody on the boat currently seems to be exhibiting any of the symptoms of the Hanta virus, 4 of those people are Australians, and I heard today that they will be flying directly to Perth. They will probably arrive overnight or early tomorrow, mid-morning tomorrow. And from there are 4 people, 2 from Western Australia, 2 from Queensland. Might have been New South Wales, New South Wales and Queensland. At any rate, they're going to arrive in Perth, and then they're going to be allowed to fly to their homes, where they will have to quarantine. Wait for it. How many days do you think they've got to quarantine for? Once they've got off the boat where the virus was, in a rubber suit by the look of it, gone to an airport, got on a commercial flight, flown across the world from Tenerife, Spain, to Perth, Western Australia, and then jumped on another cylindrical air-conditioned sausage to fly to Sydney and or Brisbane, and then quarantine. How many days do you think they'll do that for? 40. 40 days. If, look, I'm not a smart man. I'm prepared to admit I've missed something here. Please explain it to me in the comments. If Hanta virus is as deadly as they say it is, when you've got to go and quarantine somebody for 40 days after they have been directly exposed to at least the boat that the thing was on, what happens to all the people that sat on the air-conditioned sausage that flew you from Spain to Perth, and all the people that sat on the plane with you from Perth to wherever the hell you wound up, the people that picked you up from the airport, and all the other people coming in from all over the other world, I nearly said the other worlds. What happens there? Are we just going to be starting up contact tracing again? 40 days of isolation is what they're coming home to, apparently. Now, that's longer than some states had lockdowns in total, not Victoria. But it does give you an indication of just what sort of gusto the World Health Organization is using to control this Hanta virus, which came from the COVID injections. How do we know that? Well, because it's listed on page 33 of 38 in the adverse events from Pfizer's clinical trials. That's it, listed right there. Here is the patent for the Hanta virus from 1991. This was a virus that was discovered by the US Army. So many great viruses are discovered by the military, don't you think? So you can check that patent number there. I did earlier, but here it comes again. I did say the next one was going to be pretty harsh. So what do we do with those 4 people who are getting off the plane in Perth? Should the Western Australian Premier, who's very good at taking the rights off people in Western Australia, continue using that skill and remove the rights of those 4 individuals who are arriving on an international flight to escape Western Australia and instead put them in isolation, I don't know, somewhere in the desert for the next 40 days, give them appropriate food and water and shelter and all that. But maybe this Hanta virus, like the COVID virus, can't last in temperatures above 24 degrees. Yeah, everybody always forgets that. If you had COVID in your house in Queensland and it was 32 degrees anywhere, or you had a bit of hand railing that always had to be continually sprayed down because people touch it, and it's in the sun all day and weighs and has picked up heat to 50 degrees when you put your fingers on it. Nothing can live on that. Well, maybe hantavirus can't live in the desert. So will the guy in Western Australia who's so good at taking people's rights off them assume that he can take the rights off those 4 people before allowing them to get on another germ-spreading jet and head to the East Coast, where there is a vastly larger population awaiting their arrival with open mouths and mucous membranes? Nice. If you know anybody who's flying back from Perth as a FIFO, watch this story. Watch for these infected 4 being sent back here to Australia. And it won't be hard to pick what flights they're on, because there aren't too many bloody flights from the west to the east and the east to the west. And at the moment, those flights are freaking expensive. So we might get lucky. The government might turn up with television cameras and escort those 4 people off the plane in rubber suits, isolation suits. Can't see why they wouldn't do that after the precedent they set with Ben Roberts-Smith. He wasn't carrying an infectious disease, although you wouldn't know that the way that Channel 9 talk about him, and the ABC for that matter. But even still, it'd be lovely to see the West Australian Police exercise their powers to do whatever the fuck they want and protect the rest of the country. Do we think that's going to happen? No. And once again, should that be a waking up moment for the normies who just go along thinking, you're all conspiracy theorists? There's nothing wrong with the jab. I've never been better. Except my veins are buggered and I can't hardly breathe much anymore, but never been better. Oh, my lordy me, folks. I think every day is showing us more and more and more moments for the woke to be awakened. And sadly, not all of them are going to wake up. It's not our job to wake them anymore either. That's being done by others. That's being done by higher powers than you and I. What we have to do is get ourselves together, get ready, because it's coming. It's going to be a big change. It's going to be frightening for many. And like any tsunami, one nation or otherwise, when it makes land, it's going to be violent. So find something big and strong to hang on to, something to cling to that can give you support, something that you trust. Because the ride's going to be fun. It's going to be a ride. It's going to be hard, but we are prepared. And these moments like I've described tonight, I genuinely believe are there to wake the woke. to give them an inkling. To them, I probably sound like a complete loon, a crazy person. And if that is the case, then I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm sorry you're not listening. And if I'm wrong, okay, I'm wrong. So what? Who have I hurt? But if I'm right, well, if I'm right, maybe we'll keep a few more dickheads on the roads, sadly, because they're usually the ones that survive. I'm going to love you and leave you tonight. It is Monday. And I think the next, 48 hours, I think you're going to find some very interesting things happening in the Iran-Israel sector of the Gulf War. Donald Trump and Xi Jinping will be having meetings, if they're not already having them, about China's involvement going forward. China has a great desire to get its hands on a lot of the oil that it currently seems to be leaking out of Karg Island into the Gulf. When I say leaking, it appears to be doing just that. They can't turn off these wells. It all goes to that place. When everything's full, they need ships to offload to, and the ships aren't being allowed in or out. So China has a lot of ships that can go in there straight away, the Dark Fleet. What is Donald Trump trying to negotiate with them? Well, it'd be good to save the environment and all that. Trump would look good doing that because he's going to look very bad for cutting it off. Will the Iranians listen? The leader today has apparently issued a new set of demands that, if America chooses to follow, then the war is over, life is good. But these have come from a leader that nobody's seen since the first bombs went off back in February. And he may or may not still have all his limbs, much less all his faculties. So believe what you will out of that. Whoever is sending that message, though, is sending a message to the Americans at the negotiating table that nothing's changing. America is being held to account right alongside of Israel. Israel, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu over the weekend spoke with, I think it was American 60 Minutes or somewhere along that line, and he is following his usual line. The war isn't over. The war's not over until we say it's over. And the war could take another 40 or 50 years. Just ask the people of Palestine. So, I'm sorry, I was probably paraphrasing. He didn't say anything like that at all, but that's about all I heard about it. Goes to show that not all the dickheads are on the roads, folks. Sadly, some megalomaniac kind of dickheads are actually running nations and are in control of militaries around this world. And we're about to put one nation, potentially, in charge of one of those militaries. So tonight, I want you to think about what happens if one nation are to be a force in either a coalition or in a form of leadership. They're going to need to win 76 seats in their own right in the lower house for that to happen. Could that happen now that we've seen the strength of what's happened in Albury and what could well happen in Victoria at the end of the year? That now makes that Victorian election extremely important. I'm unsure whether or not there is another state election between Victoria and the federal election down the track. But if one nation were able to secure Victoria in a landslide, then great. But one nation federally needs to start looking at a succession plan much earlier than maybe they were thinking about. Have a think about that. Pauline's in her 70s. Malcolm Roberts is in his 70s. Who is the next wave, and why aren't we seeing them turning up in Pauline's cartoons yet? Please explain. See you tomorrow night, folks. Be safe on the roads.
You
Bye.
let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!